Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Daily AI Show. Today is November 27th. And if you're in the States or maybe an American abroad, happy Thanksgiving to you. We know that our good friends over in Canada had Thanksgiving just about a month ago. But if you're in the States, this is a big holiday. But as always, we're going to keep coming to you every single weekday. We've now kept the streak going for 600 plus shows. I think about the number we are on. I think this is 604 now. So we have no intention of stopping. So as long as there's at least two of us in the room, we will continue to do our weekday broadcast. With that in mind, who do I have with us today? We have Beth, who's now looking as Brian because it renamed you when you came back in. I know. I had to rename myself as from Beth to Brian before. So the fun of the day or whatever. We have Beth Lyons and Andy Halliday, and I'm Brian Misseri. Appreciate y'all being here. We'll see if maybe Karl, I don't think we'll have Jyunmi today, but maybe Karl pop in the door as well. So with this being a bit of a, fun holiday, at least on our end, the three of us actually, I was going to say the three of us are in the States, but now maybe, I don't know, possibly, could be either way. Some of us are celebrating Thanksgiving today. We have an international board. So glad that everybody's here. Thanks, Jeff, for being here. Thanks, Justin, as well. Jeff says y'all are awesome. Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate that. I will take that at the beginning of my holiday. So with that said, we're going to get into, I think we have a few news-ish stories that Andy and Beth were both saying they had. Then we have a little bit bigger one. I have a quick thing to share from Suno. Beth, you had something as far as prompting, but we're going to kind of move fast and furious through this one and share a whole bunch and then get ready for turkey dinners. But as anybody knows me over the 2+ years, y'all know that I'm not really that excited for Thanksgiving meal. I am excited for a Turkey Day burrito. So that's where my future is today. We don't have time to get into it. I invented it 2003. Doesn't matter.
Is this done with leftover turkey? The burrito is created post-turkey basting or whatever?
Listen, we don't have enough time to go delve into the fact that I invented the Turkey Day burrito circa 2003-ish at a firehouse late at night, Thanksgiving Day, came back from a lot of calls, literally invented the Turkey Day burrito, which has now been taken by the Jimmy Johns of the world, all saying that they did it. But I am the inventor of it, and I will one day have a Wikipedia page to prove said with quotes and people from the firehouse. For my
speaking makes it sound like you've already prepared the legal brief that's going to challenge the use of your intellectual property there.
Yes, Turkey Day burrito is my thing.
I feel like this is like the proper use of AI slop, right? Yes. Like, can we get Brian trending and at the top of the like Google search SEO for Turkey Day burrito inventor?
I've been saying this so long, and it's true. I think it's true, to be honest with you. But I've been saying this so long that I have people reach out to me if it like shows up on a menu at like Epcot or something. They'd be like, "Oh, Brian, Turkey Day burrito." But anyway, to answer your question, because we do not have time to get into today, and it's not really AI. But yes, Andy, the beauty of a Turkey Day burrito is there is no one perfect one. You simply get the stuff. I am not a cranberry sauce guy. Don't love it. I'm not a dark turkey guy. I like the light turkey, the white turkey. So I'm going to take stuffing, mashed potatoes, turkey, a little bit of gravy, maybe some other fixings. I'm going to get in there as well. I'm going to layer this in a burrito. I'm going to wrap this puppy up, Andy. I'm going to hit it for about 30 seconds in the microwave. If I have a skillet.
Is it kosher to do a corn tortilla?
Listen, that could be the Andy special. I feel like it's not something I would do. I'm not a big fan of corn tortillas. They break. I'm going flour, but I think to each his own. And if that's what rocks your boat, I think that's what you do with turkey dinner. By the way, it'll change your life. I'm not even kidding. Well, forget leftover.
I'm gonna make one right now.
I'm gonna say that's the Californian, right? That's the Californian.
That's the Californian, the Californian. Which is, I mean, let's be honest. That's perfect. Anyway, neither here nor there. Try it if you haven't tried it. I'm not even kidding about it. It will change your life. Grab a burrito and put your leftovers in there and eat it. I literally had one Monday morning because we had a light Thanksgiving at my dad's house, but we had to drive home from Georgia on Monday, and I ate one for breakfast. So you could see where my life is in terms of burritos. All right, that's neither here nor there. Andy, let me kick it over to you first because you said you had a few news stories that we wanted to get into today.
Yeah, I want to talk first about NVIDIA and what's happened in the last week to that company, and specifically with respect to its stock price. which today, as of yesterday's close, at $180 a share, is about 15% off of its high. So it had reached a high around 207 plus. And so it's a 15% decline. That's a big, big drop. And you can imagine at the scale of $4.5 trillion, it represents hundreds of billions of dollars of lost market capitalization. But what's unusual and hit the news feeds that I read this morning is that NVIDIA and Jensen Huang, they sent a detailed memo to Wall Street analysts defending and rebutting against the critics of NVIDIA that are claiming that, there's basically a circular investment scheme that's underway, and this is propping up the high valuations of AI companies generally and NVIDIA particularly. And so it's just unusual for a company to have to go on the defense that way publicly and actually deliver these arguments directly to Wall Street analysts. It even posted on X to defend itself. And this in the context of the reports that Meta is talking to Google about using TPUs, not GPUs from NVIDIA, Google TPUs to do their massive investments in AI inference infrastructure. So anyway, I thought that was very interesting. I'm still a long-term fan. I think, this is, the most valuable company in the world. It's got an incredible, amount of inertia and momentum currently, and it's going to be very hard to displace them just because they have such a wide range of capabilities that span the full spectrum of, vertically integrated AI-related investment, ranging from software to robotics to, AI chips, the ones that are preferred in general for high-level data centers.
Wow.
Yeah.
For sure.
I agree. As far as it in terms of NVIDIA, that's like, I don't think we've seen them necessarily in this position, right? Like it's kind of been all rainbows and sunshine, it seems like. And every time Jensen Huang spoke, it's been nothing but praise and upwards and all that. And this is maybe the first time, and interesting that it sort of correlates with the first time we're seeing ChatGPT be on its heels a little, or not, excuse me, Sam Altman and OpenAI, I should say, a little bit on the heels and responding versus being the forefront in some ways, much like we saw Google, 2-3 years ago. So anyway, just sort of interesting take on it. Beth, what about you? What do you got?
So Anthropic dropped a couple pieces this week. Part one was talking about how they've gotten it's called effective harness for long running agents, and essentially how they managed to get their Opus and to a certain extent Sonnet to be able to do things for longer, right? So it's able to run a coding project for like 30 minutes or something. So it's able to move things for longer. And basically the key insight is they use an initializer agent to set up the environment, and then a coding agent makes incremental progress, right? So, and then leaves clean artifacts for the next session. And that is so hard to do, and to do right as someone who's just trying to prompt general Claude to do those things, that's really exciting, honestly, that they've figured out the best way to do it, and they're doing it for you if you want to use those systems. And the second thing from Anthropic was an analysis of 100,000 Claude conversations, and found that AI reduces task completion time by about 80%. And so they extrapolated that, and they estimate that current AI, not better AI, just what we got today, could increase labor productivity by 1.8% annually over the next decade. And as Paul Rather says, that's exciting, but also, are we in a closed system, right? If you increase 1.8%, is your audience increasing 1.8%? Like, there's some things there are some industries that like doing more actually provides more, and there are some industries where doing more in a closed system means that you're fighting for the edges of your sales of your sales target, right? Like if you get more, somebody else gets less. And I think with this kind of analysis, we are looking at that again. Like, okay, where are you and what is your risk? That's probably one of the things that don't talk about that on Thanksgiving, but maybe on the day after Thanksgiving while eating a burrito.
Bring it up around the old Thanksgiving table. See what happens.
All right. Andy, you are muted.
Thank you. I was going to say, related to that, MIT just released their iceberg index. And what that means is they have a sophisticated model that looks at American workers across 32,000 skills. And what they're trying to identify is which of those 32,000 skills are actually replaceable by AI. And what the iceberg index says is that right now, tech layoffs represent just about 2% of total wage exposure. So there's been a reduction in human wage earning of only 2%. But now this model says hidden automation potential in knowledge work specifically is going to create a much larger sort of underneath the waterline iceberg impact of all of this automation of human work. So here's just some thoughts from MIT. Manufacturing states registered little tech sector impact. This is where the biggest impact is right now, is in coding. So like in the knowledge work that is related to programming, a lot of that is being replaced, and junior programmers coming out of computer science programs, as you know, are finding it difficult to find entry-level positions out there unless they have very specific training in their academia, for AI, right? But if you're just a basic coder from a generalist, computer science programs, it's tough out there. So why this matters is that AI workforce coverage has been focusing on the tech industry, but this index that MIT has shown is going to mean a much larger exposure in office and professional areas spread across all states, not just the coasts. So there's a lot of office workers that are going to be ultimately replaced by this based on this analysis at MIT. And so as an example of this, I want to give you this other thing that I saw in the news today, which is there's a venture capitalist in Silicon Valley, Roberto Bonanzinga. And I don't know anything about that particular individual, but he's notable. And he is using AI now instead of entry-level associates who used to comb the world of startups to try to find the ones that were investable and, become the target of, the venture capitalists' investment. Well, they would wade through all these potential investment opportunities for his venture firm. Well, he's no longer using them. He's instead using AI to handle all those tasks that employees would have performed in the past. So that's an example of a really, very desirable entry-level position. If you could, coming out of business school, for example, if you could get a job as an associate at a venture capital firm, that's like a fast track to being involved in, one of the most remunerative professions out there for a high-level MBA. Well, now the lowest rung on the ladder there is disappearing. Yeah. How do you get involved in that? And this is what the iceberg is trying to say, is there's a lot of problems, the disruptions that are going to happen that we're really not seeing the impact of yet. And it's a much, much larger issue and concern than what's showing above the surface right now.
Yeah, I think, well, I have a weave and a plug from that. But what I was going to say on that is that makes me think, Andy, about this classic, I'd always heard with somebody like FedEx, I believe it's FedEx, it could be UPS, where they often will at least have their executive suite. I'm not saying forever or take on the job, but they will make them ride along with the trucks. They will make you do distribution. Right. And the idea is pretty straightforward here. Hey, how can you make plans and changes at the top for your your employees if you don't actually understand what they're going through, right? And it's just one of probably many examples of companies doing that type of thing. Well, that makes me think of what you're saying, Andy, because in this case of the consult or the base level, the entry level that you were talking about, well, doing that manually is a way to better understand deeply the research is necessary to make larger decisions. And I definitely see issues if that goes away. What you're really doing is saying, like, well, we no longer feel that we need to train people to be able to have that deep understanding, which means, and not necessarily in a bad way, but it could be debated for sure. Like, does that mean that you're now too reliant on what AI ultimately does? And do you, over time, over the course of a decade, do you essentially eliminate the ability of a group of humans to be able to push back against that AI? Or has that all eroded and now everybody at that company, whereas there might have been people who had, institutional knowledge, decades long of knowledge and intuition, and as that starts to erode, are you going to be safe leaning on potential future AI that doesn't need that anyway, but will there be a gap there? And for the companies that insist on that and parallel path along with AI, but insist that their entry level people still have to do the literal manual tasks because they know that's what's best for their business, or for the companies who try to save money today because they believe that AI will fully solve for that down the road. It's an interesting thing. Now, I don't have a conundrum about that this Saturday, but what my weave / plug was for the conundrum, because it's in the same area, which is, in this particular Saturday's one, it's about more what Karl talks about a lot, which is like SaaS solutions. And I'll just read the conundrum really quick for what the Saturday episode will be about. But do we embrace a decentralized build first future that democratizes tools and strips power from incumbent SaaS vendors, accepting higher systemic risk and the need for radically upgrade internal security capability? Or do we double down on platform consolidation to preserve resilience, compliance, and professional grade security, even though it concentrates control and cost? And I think there's going to be a big tug and pull and push and pull of this going forward, where companies wrestle with the idea of, hold on a second, we do think we have the ability to build this ourselves now, but with that, you do lose the safety net of your, CRMs and your sales forces who have, tons of people plus AI encoding now to catch security flaws, risks, and stuff. And if you build it from Radio Shack, well, then you build your radio from Radio Shack, right? And it could work and all that, but it also might cause you problems, and you might not have 100 YouTube videos that go fix that radio. And I think we're going to see this a lot in, SaaS, and Karl has brought this up on the show. So that whole discussion that you guys will hear, as always, on Saturday, we do our conundrum episode. I do a quick intro, kind of like I literally did right now, but a little bit shorter. And then you'll hear two AI co-hosts debate both sides of that with good citations, good knowledge, good research in there. And I always say it on the show, but the process is I come up with ideas that just inspire me. I do that through ChatGPT, or I think I'm going to do the one we just talked about, because I think the one from this show is also a good conundrum idea. So maybe I'll do that next week. And then I work with Perplexity Pro to debate both sides of that. And then ultimately it goes into Google Notebook LM. On a rare occasion, I have to run it twice. Notebook LM is updating, as we've been saying in the news, so much that I actually have to kind of keep on it. Number one, there's new features all the time. And number two, sometimes I have to run it a second time because I kind of feel like we're in this weird in between where sometimes the quality is like, remember a couple of weeks ago, Andy, where I was like, this one feels different. But then the next week didn't feel the same, right? So I think we're in this weird in between where sometimes Notebook LM knocks it out of the park. I always think they do a good enough job, but sometimes I have to rerun it. So just wanted to, leave an applause, but not about
Notebook LM. By the way, Notebook LM had to throttle their access, and they deferred use of infographics and Nano Banana because of the incredible demand of people now adding those high cost inference jobs on developing imagery for the Notebook LM systems, both the video side and infographics. And so they had to temporarily deprecate that functionality just because of the high demand. So Notebook LM is a big story, I think, for Google and just for AI, that there are certain application spaces that are really going to command a lot of interest and great utility, great value to the consumer and to professionals as well. And the Conundrum is a great example of that.
Yeah.
I also wanted to just be a little nostalgic for a moment about Tandy Corporation, because you mentioned Radio Shack. And for those of us who used to go into Radio Shack and explore all the aisles with all the various electronic parts, that was just wonderful. It's like going to Akihabara in Tokyo, to actually wander through all the stalls with all the incredible pieces of parts that were electronic components that you used to build yourself. Now those things have all shrunk down to the point of invisibility. And so is it with Tandy Corporation and Radio Shack. Completely invisible now. Why? Because it's gone by the wayside as part of the progression of history.
I think somebody needs to, they do this nostalgic things where every once in a while you see like a pop-up old school, like Blockbuster, because people just our age, my age, want to walk through it or whatever. I think they could do that with a pop-up Radio Shack, and just for fun, where it's like pop-up stuff or whatever. I always appreciate those. Okay, I want to keep moving on here. I was going to talk a little bit about ChatGPT turning 3. Here's the deal. That actually happens on November 30th. And although that's Sunday, I think we can just probably make that a bigger discussion on Monday. Because I do like, it's a bit of a retrospective, maybe not the perfect thing for today. It's what I was going to do, but in terms of where we are on time today, I think I will pause on that one. But the lead up to that is to say, yeah, believe it or not, I don't know. There's both sides of this. ChatGPT is 3. And ChatGPT is 3. Like there's equal sides of like, oh my God, it's been 3 years since we saw this crazy, amazing new technology land in a lot of our laps. And yes, it was around before that. I know there's always somebody that's like, wait a second, Brian. And I'm like, yes, okay. But I mean, the public, the general public is what I'm talking about. That's November 30th, of 2022. So that'll be coming up in a couple of days. And then the other side is like, holy crap, look how much we've done in 3 years. And I think that's the part that kind of continuously blows my mind, despite the fact that we've almost literally had a podcast that entire time. Minus 6 months of that, we've been on a weekday podcast, and I'm still blown away by how much has been done. Because if you take any other 3-year period and compare it, it's kind of bonkers. Just look at business. So we could talk all about that. We'll maybe make that Monday show. I'll have to double check and see if I can be on Monday's show, but we'll do it on a day very close to that. And we'll kind of move forward. Now, I have a little bit to share that is just fun for Suno, but Beth, I know you also have some stuff. Do you want me to go first in case I have to bounce, or what would you like me to do?
That sounds good. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. And look, this is just me basically saying, I was a Nudio guy. I was like, Suno doesn't have it. And now I think they both have it. I don't think it's that one is the other, but Suno has come around. Now, I do not use Suno to, I hope I did share the tab on that. I'm going to do a quick sound check real quick. Yeah. Okay. That was a weird soundtrack too, probably. But yeah, I just scream at you. I just want to make sure you can hear it. So I've been using the tandem, speaking of Google, of Gemini 3 Pro to help me flesh out lyric ideas to get a sort of like an outline of what I want to do. And then I've been massaging, manipulating, creating new lyrics from that. I like this idea. Let's change this. Oh, that's a good idea. So very in concert with Gemini Pro. I do not want to claim that I wrote every lyric from a blank piece of paper. That's not what I did. And then, quite frankly, the vast majority of all the writing of the song obviously was done through Suno. I just gave it a little bit of, push here or there. So I have 2 songs here. I'll do the funny one first, and I'll do the other one. They're too long to play the whole thing, so I'm just going to play snippets of it. But the first one is wanting an AI humanoid robot for Christmas. And so that one's a little bit more on the funny side. So I'll play a little bit of this one into the chorus, and then I'll play you. I actually did a Thanksgiving song based off of a concept I had, thinking it's going to sound dumb. It's going to sound really dumb. It has to do with the Macy's Day Parade and balloons in the air and my wife. There you go. I'll preface that in a second because that probably doesn't make any sense. But let's listen to a little bit of AI for Christmas this year so you can get a feel for just what I think is how good Suno is, and not the lyrics it writes. I still think it's subpar, but Gemini 3.3 Pro, and I am sure, by the way, Opus 4.5 with Sonnet or with Claude probably crushes. I didn't try this in ChatGPT, so I can't claim that, but Gemini did a really good job. So let's just listen to a little bit of it. I was trying to get the lyrics up, but unfortunately, it's just here on the side. We'll just listen to a little bit here.
Oh, Santa, we need an upgrade. Hit it! I got the stockings hung with care by the fire, but frankly, Santa, I'm a little tired. I've been watching tech demos on my screen. The sleekest AI helpers that I've ever seen. Don't want a sweater or another book on a shelf. I need a figure or two to help me help myself. I've been a good guy, I've paid my dues. So this year, big man, I've got some news. I'm looking at the dishes piled in the sink, and I'm pouring myself another holiday drink. I need a little magic, but not from an elf. I need a present that can run itself. I want an AI robot for Christmas this year, full of deep learning and holiday cheer. Wanna sit on the couch while it mows the lawn and let it scrub the ground until the break of dawn. Oh, Santa, bring me a bot with a shiny chrome bow, so I never have to shovel the driveway snow. I'll be sipping eggnog, feeling so fine while my robot waits in the grocery line. Yeah, put it to work. Neural networks, baby. I saw Optimus.
All right, so that's the first one. Just sort of a fun Christmas, sleigh bells in there, jingle bells in the back, and just sort of a fun thing to it. I think it's impressive how good the adherence to the lyrics and pauses has gone. And now, Beth, you make a lot of music, so I'll certainly take your feedback here too. What I see the biggest difference is how Suno puts pauses. And I don't think it's perfect, by the way, but how it puts pauses in there. And now even with the Pro, you can go in and mess with stems. And I think I could probably go line by line and actually improve at that sort of molecular level of it, which is what really, really gets me excited. So that was one of them. I don't know, take your, I'm not asking you to tell me my son's great or anything, but like just in terms of the quality of it, do you feel like there's like an increased quality? So maybe since the last time you saw Suno?
I think yes. I also think that like I could hear that in a store and not think, right? Like A, that it's AI, or B, that it's not a thing that I haven't heard a million times. Like it fits in with the way that Christmas songs sound.
It's a bit of an earbug, and that's what I was sort of going for. And so I forced my daughter to listen to it yesterday in her room. I trapped her, and then I was making her listen.
Yes, the real criticism. We want to know. We totally want to know what your daughter thought.
Well, what she said to me as she dealt with me was she said her friend called and I left, and then she came down the stairs. She said, "Dad, it's stuck in my head." And I was like, yes. She's like, I was singing it, humming it coming down the stairs. And I thought, yes, perfect. So that was one of them, and in a completely different genre and style and tone. I did one called The Parade, which is based on the concept here was not necessarily ripped from the headlines of My Family per se, but I love this idea. I was thinking about the Macy's Day Parade and balloons flying and the contrast of what we would call floats, the actual vehicles on the ground, and how, a typical country song might talk about a husband supporting a wife going back to her home where they only see her as the girl that grew up in the home. This woman has gone on to do amazing things, and he's not trying. He's like, it's just the day. You just have to it's just putting on the show for the day or whatever. But tomorrow you can go back to be your, like your amazing self. And the guy is just sort of sitting there celebrating and all that. So I'll play a little bit of that one, but again, we won't go too deep into this. But totally different right now. We're typical country song. I'll play it into the first chorus and then stop it.
We hit the driveway and the radio cuts. You take a deep breath and gather our stuff to handle the questions and the welcome home. Navigating the family history, but you are not alone. You check your eyes in the vanity mirror, wishing the day's end was a little nearer. You put on a smile that you save for today, telling yourself it's gonna be okay. Cause walking in there means playing the game, pretending that the last 10 the same. I kill the lights and I reach for your hand, the only ally in a foreign land. I whisper, baby, you don't have to prove a thing. I'm right beside you, let the show begin. Cause this family is waiting on a Thanksgiving float, something safe and slow on a paper mache boat, just waving and smiling 5 feet off the ground, following the route of this little town. But baby, I know that you're a balloon bumping the ceiling of this living room, and I'm just a guy holding on to the string, running beneath you, admiring your wings. I ain't trying to ground you, I love where you are while they look at the street. I'm looking at your stars.
All right, so there's a little bit of the second one that I was working on this morning. And again, I think what really impresses me is its ability to take pauses where I did not tell it to take a pause, where you used to have to do that. You have to say like beat, 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 pause. Same thing in 11 Labs, right? And so what I'm really I just wanted to demo those, not because I want anybody to be like, amazing. It's more like, oh, look how far this technology has come and the ability of the AI to do it. And again, I think you would say like, I don't know, if I heard that on the radio, I really probably would not think twice. Some of the lyrics need some tweaking and stuff like that. Some of the beats are a little off, and I think, oh, that would have been cleaned up if somebody was doing this live or whatever. But it just goes to show what's possible. And Suno has this like Black Friday deal, which definitely makes, if you pay for the year, makes their pro plan considerably cheaper, saves you like $60 a year. This is sort of getting into that realm of Perplexity and Canva for me, where I don't see any downside to paying for the year to save the money, because I think I'll go back to this. This is just fun for me. Don't forget, Suno also has the ability for me to play my guitar or keyboard right into it and use that to build the song. And there was a previous song that that I had done in there that was built off of me playing a guitar poorly. I'm okay at guitar. I can do rhythm guitar and stuff, and I can't really sing, but I can hum a tune and I can get my point across. And it was able to take my rhythm, my voice, my vocal inflections, and turn that into something that sounds like it would be a demo tape in Nashville. I'm not saying on the radio or like it's going to win an award, but like definitely demo tape level. And I think that, talk about disruption. If you don't need a band in Nashville that can play everything and be a demo band, which is a very lucrative career, and I can do this in a morning and get my concept across and shop it, man, have you cut out a whole lot of people in that process. And we can all say, oh, it's AI and whatever. But you know what? If that's a demo, then the person who live cuts that is going to do their own thing with it anyway. It's just a demo. It's probably not what's going to go at the end. So I don't know what you guys think, but it's really come a long way. And I just wanted to share a little bit of that today.
Well, it is very impressive. Beth, go ahead. And then I'll.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, like, the same process that cuts out the middle people is also cutting out the person who's going to cut it, right? Like,
maybe
I'm not sure you can just say, okay, so we made it sound amazing, so now you can do your demo tape, and now we can have a big artist. Like maybe we're still having some big artists, but I think that what we're seeing is a real shift in what that art form is going to do with this tech. Yeah. So I'm not sure, because I couldn't tell you who the country singer was, but he sounded like a country singer that has a name that I would understand. Like,
yeah, just enough, right?
Right?
Yeah, just enough.
I would say just a little bit too much. Like, I have been pretty clear that I think we would be in much better situation if there was like a 15% wrong for voiceovers that sound like the person. For like, I want something that does a celebrity lookalike, not the actual person, because I think that is an established like comedic or it's usually used in comedy, right? Like a comedic element, and people understand that, and that would be a bridge, rather than that's an accurate representation of me and my voice, but I didn't do that.
Well, okay, so this is what my pushback would be on this, is that I did for brief summer in college work in Nashville. And so I got at least a taste of dealing it. And look, auto-tune existed in 97 when I was there, I think. I mean, there was at least versions of it. You would take the DAT tape, if I remember right, and you would bring that to people who whole business was to adjust the clip, the highs and lows, something I would do in 3 seconds in DaVinci Resolve today. Like after this show, I will clip the highs and lows and normalize the audio. That was a whole industry that got paid well for it. I had to go bring the tapes to the guy in some windowless office to do that. I remember it, right? So, okay, we're not there. Autotune has been around forever. You know, you have your Ariana Grandes, who probably sound like Ariana Grande if she was singing in this room. And then you have other people that maybe not so much, you know,
sound like Ariana Grande after the production. Yes.
You know, I think some people have that natural talent and are going to sound the same, whether they're on stage or not. And other people are going to have some trouble with that because they've been produced. So here's what I would say. Here's my pushback to this. And I don't have a dog in this fight. Okay. There's the one side of the argument, as we've always said in AI. Hey, hold on. There's a Brian here who loves playing guitar and likes messing around with lyrics. And I was handed a tool that now allows me to express myself in a new way that never existed before. And maybe somebody who would have never thought about, you know, I'm not, but if I was ever going to do demos, I now have something that I can shop around. Now, copyright and all that stuff, that would all have to be figured out. But here's what I would say to that too. You can't tell me this tool isn't being used or professional versions of this in some way all over the Nashvilles of the world, because even if that's the case, and I'm not going to turn that in, but if I can play and I can sing, what's to stop me from taking this, deleting it off of this, creating my own version, recording it, and sending that in as a demo? And would I be wrong to do that if I got all the ideas and stuff from Suno and said, I got it from here, and then I played my guitar to the same rhythm they just came up with, because I didn't and the breaks and all that kind of stuff, and I used Gemini to help me with the lyrics. All that is behind smoke, and I just deliver my demo. And then some artist goes, I like that demo, but I'm going to put my voice on it. I'm going to be the Tim McGraw. I'm going to be the Jelly Roll, whatever. I'm going to put my spin on it, and then that song goes out the door.
I'm not pushing back at you for that. I'm just saying personally, I think generating something that sounds so much like somebody else's IP is a thing that I think is a challenge. But the other thing that I would say to that is what you're trying to do is stand out, right? Mm-hmm. But to your point, this tech was like people would 2 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe even longer than that, people were recording demos in the AI voice or in the lookalike voice of the artist that they wanted to submit it to, right? So you could actually say, yes, Tim McGraw, this is what it would sound like if you were singing it. Leanne Rimes, yes, I'm very old. I don't even know if she still sings. Leanne Rimes, this is what it sounds like in your thing. Yeah. Stop me. But I do think that music opened itself up to this because of how processed music sounds now. Mm-hmm. It's not a big leap. In the same way that if you're looking at a likeness, that was a huge leap because there's still a little bit missing in terms of skin and expression and things that are not considered stereotypically attractive, which is where AI gets a whole bunch of stuff wrong. But I do think that music, you're right, music is definitely the place where this is happening. And those are great.
I have a couple of comments. One is, first of all, thank you for sharing the nice work that you did. It caused me, for the first time, to sign up for Suno. So I did. Wow. While enjoying and listening to those songs, which were very familiar and comfortable. Yeah. I enjoyed those, and so I signed up for Suno. I'll try to play with it. The other thing I want to point out is that today in the music industry, you don't make a lot of money by getting recordings put onto the streaming platforms. Where they make their money is in live touring shows. Yeah. And so once you get noticed in Nashville with your thing, you're going to have to put together a live band that can actually perform that live in a 100%. Series of concerts. So, there's a machine for that, and there's plenty of studio musicians who are ready to, go out on the road to do that. But I wanted to just say that what I noticed generally about music is that most of it is very predictable. It's arpeggio from, I go up and I go down. I go up 100%. And I go down. I go up and I go down, and then I resolve. It's so formulaic in most cases. And then you have some really big breakthroughs that I haven't heard from AI yet. And I'll give you an example. Gautier, the Belgian, born Australian, who created Someone That I Used to Know. That song.
Yeah.
Do you remember that when that song came out? I was like, what's going on here sonically and lyrically, and with those two voices, the guy and the it was just really innovative music.
Oh yeah.
I don't hear that from the AI generated, I'll use the term slop, right? Because that country music song, I couldn't differentiate from one that might be on the radio right now.
No.
It's intentionally really that good, an imitation of that style.
Mm-hmm.
But where's that creative brilliance that comes from a guy like Gautier, who just did something tremendous? And there are other examples. I would cite Billie Eilish as someone else who came along and did something very different, a different tonality, a different sound, a different lyrical process, and made great inroads in the music industry as a result of that. And now, many of her things are, already formulaic for her, right? So we know
and other people are now, people are mimicking her and doing that more of that whisper sound and stuff like that. The song that came to mind, it's neither here nor there, was Beck's Loser back in the 90s, because that's a song where you go, well, that doesn't make any sense why that one went popular. But it just it's so different, and you're right. Like, could I get AI to write a Beck Loser but of different, right? Not a carbon copy of it. And the answer is, truthfully, I have not played with Suno at the pro level, which is what I have the subscription for, enough to know whether that is or isn't possible. I did something very formulaic, fully, yes, that's exactly what I was going for, was sort of that, look how indistinguishable, kind of what we were saying, that this is from typical radio. And you're right. Is that good? Is that more AI slop? Are you just adding to the thing? Is that just going to overwhelm Spotify? Yeah, probably all of that. Because if I can do it in 4 hours, somebody better than me can do it in 2 and do it better, and I'm not some great lyricist or whatever. I had a concept of the Macy's Day balloons and thinking about my wife, although that story is that is not, like I said, from my life. My mother-in-law certainly isn't the type of person that would, tell my wife that she's working too hard or anything like that. But it was just this idea, right? And so I was able to get this idea and stretch it out and go, well, what about this? I think the guy, and so my conversations with Gemini weren't just give me lyrics. My conversation, what I really loved about this, just this morning when I put the song together, I think wrote is a little strong, but put the song together, was I would say stuff to Gemini like, no, I think the guy is thinking about this when his wife is sitting in the car. And that is different. That is different. And that is what I've been saying. And I'll get off my horse on this about why I think Gemini is different. And I have not tried 4.5, but I believe that there's a different level of understanding because I am able to give it concepts, and without an intermediary play, Gemini is going to say back to me, I see what you mean. If he is sitting there pensive, thinking as his wife is taking that last deep breath before going into her childhood home and thinking, I know what I'm walking into. And the husband knows, I know what I'm walking into, but they don't see who I see. They see the little girl. I see the woman, the amazing woman she's become and her successful and all that stuff. And that's what I'm here to support. I'm holding on to the string of her balloon and it's soaring to the stars, but they think she's grounded, And so like, I'm able to say that and go, this is where I think this guy's head is at the point. And Gemini comes back and says something like, that's a good point. I see it here. It's not about this. It's about that. And there's a little bit of discussion there. And then there's a rewrite of the lyrics. That is so different to me, just me at least. So anyway, I talked a little longer. I apologize, Beth, on this. And I actually have to run for my holiday.
No, I think it's good. We're back tomorrow. So let's end today because that was a real high note. Go play with Suno. Be like Andy. And there's a great discussion in the chat about music and abstraction and innovation and creativity. So if you are watching this after the fact, go check out our chat and join our community. Hey, Brian, sign up for our newsletter and do all sorts of things. Yes.
Yeah, I actually have an end stream, so we can certainly try it, Beth, and see if. Do you have one on your end?
I do not. Go.
We'll see. We'll see if it works. All right. Listen, happy Thanksgiving to everybody who's celebrating today. Otherwise, have a great Thursday. And yes, we will be back tomorrow for another show. All right. This has been fun, guys. Have a good day.
Thanks. Happy.